Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our last topic, marketing for small business owners, and it was informative. If you aren't able to join us and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on our YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as multiple favorite podcast platforms. And if you'd like to receive notifications on when our podcasts have been uploaded, please like and subscribe. If there are topics you'd find beneficial or questions you have, please feel free to reach out to me at media@abandp.com. Now let's learn a little bit about our guest today. Chris Latham is a certified financial planner working in Long Beach, California. Chris started working in finance in 1995 and started his own financial practice in 2004. He's had great success through organic growth and honest practice methods. Chris's clientele ranges from school district faculty to business owners and entrepreneurs. He has a personal relationship with each of his clients and has many second-generation clients. So Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Candy. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad to have you. I know today will be a great topic that we will be discussing and retirement planning and all of that. But before I actually ask any questions I have for you, I would love for you to tell me just a little bit more about yourself and how did you even get into financial planning?
Good question. I mean, I've always been good with numbers and money and just kind of understanding how it all fits together. And I've also had my whole life, I've kind of been one of those people that like to listen and help others. So, as a little kid, people would come to me with questions. I'd help them through, how to save money from their lemonade stand or whatever it is. And just kind of morph from there. And I eventually got into college and took some finance class, economics classes. And I'm like, that's home. I love this stuff. And so I can make a difference doing something I love.
Wonderful. That's great. Well, I do want to start talking about, again, the retirement planning. And my first question is, what are some of the common barriers that people have when they're deciding to start a financial plan?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think it's like anything else. Most people don't know where to start. Their parents didn't have financial plans. They don't teach financial planning or money management in school. They'll teach English and math and history and all that stuff, but nothing about how to save money, how to budget, how to manage your money. And it's a rabbit hole. People don't know where to start. And it's scary. I know it can be complicated and overwhelming, but it just doesn't have to be, though.
Well, I see the same thing, obviously working with entrepreneurs, and many of them have started businesses because they have a talent, but they hadn't learned, the finance and how to manage money and things like that too. So it's difficult, whether it's personal or in business. So I'm sure people appreciate having certified financial planners such as yourself to help.
Sure. Yep.
So I would love to then ask you, are there certain areas that every good financial plan should cover, regardless of how complex the plan actually is?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest with you, everybody has the same issues. Some are going to be more complex. Whether you're 20 years old or 80 years old, or you're starting off with $1,000, or you've already, you're at the $100 million level, it's all kind of the same chassis. Think about it that way. I mean, everybody has, five main things that we focus on, and that is, we call them the ways to wealth. So making smart money decisions. How do you go about investing money? What are the things you need to be concerned about? Risk, fees, and taxes. Those are things that you have some control over. You can't control, things like the economy, or politically, socially, those types of aspects. But you can control how you're investing your money. Number two is you want to focus on minimizing taxes. We all have to pay our fair share, but you want to make sure you're not paying more than you have to. Taking care of the heirs. That's number three. Estate planning. So trusts, wills, power of attorney, A lot of people think, well, that's for I've got to be, super wealthy to even bother with that. That's not true. That applies to everybody. It's just making sure that what you have, if something were to happen to you, that's being taken care of properly. Number 4 is going to be protecting the assets. So it's going to be the insurance types of plans. Whether it's life insurance, disability, long-term care insurance. These are things that are there to protect against a major incident that could seriously derail your financial future. And number 5 is, it doesn't apply to everybody, but magnifying charitable interests. You want to make sure that the things that you're doing, there's a purpose and a plan to it for you. And in this case, if you're making charitable decisions, you want to do that where it's going to magnify to that charity and also bring a potential financial benefit to you as well.
So we know too, during this year, we've seen things going up and down with the economy, things start to maybe look a little bit better and then things turn around again. So in terms of financial planning, is it something that needs to be revised, every couple of years based on what's happening, or do they make it and it's just there?
Yeah, that's kind of the fallacy. I think people do a plan, and they in the old days used to get a big book, and it would sit on the shelf in the living room, never to be looked at again. But it's a fluid moving plan. I mean, everything changes in life. So it's something that has to be continually looked at, revised. I mean, there's times that maybe nothing happens nothing needs to be changed for several years. And other things occur that literally 2 months later, something needs to be jumped on and taken a look at. So not just real quick, easy things, but yeah, you definitely want to maintain that. Have someone looking over everything for you.
Well, and sometimes people are afraid to sit down with someone and create, a financial plan. So do you think that's due to the unknown, because they want to, be able to keep spending money and not have to necessarily track what's happening? What would you say are some of those reasons that people might not actually do a financial plan?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both, in both those things, and in all of us. We all look around and look on Facebook and look on the TV, and everybody's enjoying life, running to Hawaii, or they've got their big brand new car, and we don't want to limit ourselves. We want to be able to enjoy life. And so, yeah, there's that thought that, geez, if I go in and talk to somebody, they're just going to, first thing they do is limit me, put me on a cash flow budget. I love it. I was talking to someone, a referral, a new client the other day, and he and his wife were both looking at the screen and said, we're not really budget people. And I was like, well, that's not the point of I'm not here to tell you and wag my finger and say you're overspending, you have to stop. I'm just here to show you what the consequences could be, what the outcome may be. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people, they want to keep doing what they're doing. They're thinking maybe, I'll live my life, enjoy things, and then pretty soon I'll get real serious. So, financial plan is not about budgeting and stopping you from things. It's just showing you the outcome. And the other thing is the unknown. Yeah, I mean, it's what are you going to expect? To go in? Are you going to be talking to someone that knows what they're talking about? Are they competent? Are you going to go in and end up getting sold something? Is this a real plan that's going to really benefit you, or is it just kind of a Trojan horse to get into the sales process? So yeah, I think it's a little bit of all that. People don't know where to start. It's confusing. It's a rabbit hole, but it's something that absolutely has to be done.
So when you say that you're showing someone the consequences, do you show, well, if you invest, this much now and it compounds over, 20 years, you'll end up with this, versus if you wait 10 years, this is the difference, that you're going to lose? Do you show, well, paying that $4 a day at Starbucks adds up to be this much? What are some of the examples maybe that you show that impact of not saving or spending?
Yeah. So when you're doing a financial plan, one of the aspects is going to be a cash flow report. And that is just simply going to take all the information that we have today and, taking a look at information in the future, whether it's what potential Social Security benefits, or maybe there's a pension, and just being able to take everything today and project out into the future. And if everything the way it is right now, the spending habits, the budgets, whatever it is, if everything is on track for an indefinite period of time to life's end, let's say, then everything's good. But there's been plenty of times where I've had to have difficult talks with people that just, you can see on the chart, the cash flow, someone may be in a situation where they're going to run out of money, in 20 years. Maybe they're going to be 76 years old, and that's just too young nowadays. People are living longer. And I know that's such a cliche. My grandma is going to turn 101. Just talked to her again today. She's going to turn 101 in October. So it's real. We're all living longer. And we definitely don't want to be living too long or outliving our money. So yeah, I mean, being able to take all the information and project it and show with some certainty, reasonable certainty, what things are going to look like down the road if you stay on this path. I mean, that's huge.
Well, and I know, and I've heard about, the cost of in-home care too. If you have an issue, and you need 24/7 care, or you need 4 hours a day or whatever, what those costs are even currently, let alone in the future. So do you also take that type of cost into consideration for, you potentially may need this for your family, or like, how does that work in terms of planning those types of costs?
Absolutely. So we're going to run numerous different scenarios. So a good financial plan, there's a lot of different software out there, a lot of really good ones. And you'd be surprised how well it can calculate things the human brain can't think of, or just don't fit all the numbers together. But yeah, we're going to run a regular cash flow report that shows how things look right now, given all the information we have and what you look like going out to age 84, age 89, age 100. And then we're going to also throw in different scenarios. You may be perfectly fine. Looks like your portfolio at age 90, you're going to have $5 million, house paid off, everything's great. But what happens if there's a long-term care event, like you just said? What's the potential cost for that to be? Right now, I mean, you're talking easily $7,000 or $8,000 here in California, and really more, if you want some of the different services. So what is that going to be 20 years from now? I mean, you're talking maybe double, let's say, unless something, they get a hold of some of these cost increases. But it's going to be a heck of a lot of money down the road. And so we want to build in a scenario that shows, your main track, your main cash flow track. What will that look like if there's a long-term care event? What would it look like if inflation elevates and stays elevated? What will it look like if there is a bear market? Stocks like we're doing right now, stocks are down quite a bit. We want to take all those different scenarios and combine. What if there's a premature death? These are all things that you'd be surprised. Things could look just phenomenally well right now. With a little bit of a hiccup, the picture changes completely. And now we're in a situation where, geez, you had it made out to age 100. Now you're showing you're running out of money at age 82. Are you comfortable with that? I've actually had people that said, yeah, I don't anticipate living past, my mid 70s. I'm like, really? Okay. That's not cool. But yeah, I've had a couple of people that said that I'm not worried about it, but most are. We should be.
Well, it's better to plan to have your money for later and not need it than to think you're not going to need it and then don't have it.
You're right. I mean, it's a good balancing act, I think, because again, going back to that question of, what do they expect, or, what the unknowns, or they want to be people afraid of being put on a budget. Again, we tell everybody the same thing. It's like, we want you to enjoy your life today, but we want to be in a situation, have you be able to see it and plan for continuing to enjoy your life next year, 10 years from now, 30 years from now. It seems like I think I spend half my time chasing clients down to say, we need you to spend more money because you have it made. You're almost pretty much bulletproof. We need you to take more vacations, go enjoy. You're not here to save every dime you possibly have for the generations down below. Pass along what is left over, but you should be enjoying life too. But yeah, there's quite a few situations where we've got to kind of tell people, here's the outcome, here's what it looks like. It's their decision, but we make recommendations on changes that we can make whether lowering expenses or investing for higher returns with a portion of money, something that's going to help them outlive or have their money outlive them, basically.
Mm-hmm. So are financial plans cost effective for the everyday individual?
Absolutely. I mean, it's, not all financial plans are, I mean, you hear the numbers, some folks are paying $5,000, $10,000, and it's pretty pricey. But I mean, just for someone starting out, let's say, someone in their 20s or 30s, and they just need some help with budgeting or just kind of, overall questions on how do I start, and it can be very cost effective, a couple $100, whatever it is. I guess the question I always pops in my head is, if you don't do this, what's it really going to cost? So
that's a good point. Yeah. So someone who's listening too, who's maybe, just young, brand new, married, maybe no children or anything yet too, it's still worth it for them to come in and have a conversation and plan versus saying, well, I don't have a lot right now, so I'll just wait till I'm, 30 or 35 or 40.
Yeah. It's, you never want to put off. I mean, it's absolutely something that has to be done. It's not even a maybe, it just has to be done. So again, a financial plan for someone in that category, it doesn't have to be super complex, but you want to make sure that you're going on the right path, the right direction and doing the things that matter. You don't want to find out that you're way off course, when you're ready to start. So I mean, we do it all the time. We'll talk to some of the kids or the grandkids of clients, or just, I mean, I'm here to, it's what I love doing, and I love being able to help. So I pretty much will at least sit down with someone and put them on the right track. There may not be a lot of moving parts, but you want to make sure they're doing the right thing.
I think one thing that they would be having that maybe someone else doesn't would be college debt, right? If they're coming out of school and now they're going to have to start looking at how to pay that down, that's one of the considerations that they would have to think through. Absolutely.
And that's one of the first things I went through it myself, came out and had some debt, and just went to it, attacking that and getting it down as quickly as possible, because it's a deficit. You got to fill that hole up first before you then start to build. So that's one of the first things we look at, is how do we get rid of that debt, or any debt, credit card debt, whatever it is.
So if someone is thinking about saving for their future, what's the first step that they should take to create the positive, tangible growth?
I think going back to what I just had mentioned, first of all, we want to look at are there any deficits? Do we have student loan debt? Do we have big credit card debts? That doesn't mean that we don't suggest saving any money at all. I think the habit, if anything else, if someone can save literally $10 a month, that's a habit at least. But the majority in that case would be, taking a look at getting rid of the risks, the debt. In that case, that's a huge risk. Anything that's going to cause a potential problem, you can save a bunch of money, but if you have some type of a financial gap, some issue that's going to cause a problem down the road, doesn't matter how much money you've saved if it just gets wiped out. We're going to start with things like the risk management. So, getting rid of the things that will hurt, too much debt, credit card debt, whatever it is. Do you have simple things like the insurance-based plans? You don't need life insurance, maybe if you have no children, but everybody needs to have some type of, maybe a disability policy if you possibly can. Uninsured motorist. That's a small little thing that most people overlook. And I've had a couple of people impacted by that this past year. Oh, you should have an uninsured motorist, but not focus on it. But these are little things that should be looked at. And then as far as, with taking care of all that stuff at the same time, we do want to look at starting to build out, a savings plan, making sure that you have enough money in short-term, checking, savings, things like that for emergencies. Ideally you want to have up to 3 to 6 months, maybe 6 to 9 months worth of living expenses if you can. And once you get that, then you can kind of build out over into the other plans. You don't want to start running out looking for the big tech stock to double and triple your money when you have no money saved for that, those new tires or something that may come up.
That's something that I've talked to people about too. Again, most of my clients are business, but I have helped some individuals as well with saving some of their, money. And I had someone that just kept saying, well, I'm just going to wait, every year for my tax return. Then I can use that, for buying, let's say the new tires, like you mentioned. And I was always saying, don't count on that, because tax rules change and things change, and you might not have changed with the tax law, and you may not end up with that, the bigger refund that you're expecting, and then you're kind of stuck. So start planning now and put that money away. And then if you get that money, great, then you could also put that into savings, but don't just count on those tax refunds.
That's right. That's right. Because like you say, things change, or there's always going to be something where, another bill where that refund gets taken out. These are building habits. And I tell everybody, even if you're going to have to pull the money back out of your savings account in a couple of months for some bill that's coming, that's okay. Put it there. Put it there anyway. I mean, you're building that muscle memory, those habits, and put it the $50 or the $200 aside, and then know you'll take it right back out. But at some point, you want to get to that mindset of, hey, once money goes here, I really want to leave it alone. Leave it. So
do you recommend that people, if they have the opportunity through their employer to have, a 401k or simple or something, just automatically take that out of your paycheck first? Or do you just say, go ahead, even if you're doing it after your, the payment that you've received and you're putting it away later? Like, is there a balance between the two? Like, how would you coach someone in that area?
Yeah. So I think we're all kind of the same way. We kind of need a little bit of forced help along the way sometimes. And that's the beauty of a 401k. Or when you're younger, try to take advantage of maybe a Roth 401k or a Roth IRA, since maybe you may not be paying a lot of taxes today, not in a big high tax bracket today. You can save money on a tax-free basis, be able to take the money out tax-free down the road. But again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. That's the balance. Again, we want to make sure that debts are paid. We want to make sure you have money in savings, checking, things like that. But the 401k, that is something that you would start simultaneously, even if it's a small amount. Even if you're starting with 1 or 2%, it's the steps. And so you start that, and with the goal in mind that you're going to jump up another 1% next year, or maybe even in 6 months. Maybe it's 2%, but you want to get to the point where you're maximizing 401k contributions as soon as possible.
Especially with the fact that a lot of it's matched too, correct? The employer also puts in for you.
Yeah, and that's let me point that out. It's a big fallacy. A lot of times people will say, well, I'm maximizing, and that what they mean is up to the employer match. And that employer match is just that's icing on the cake, basically. That's extra stuff. That's great. The big benefit is you putting money aside. That's it. And so you want to ramp up and maximize the amount of money that you're putting in. So yourself. So don't worry about trying to get to the employer match, blow through that and keep putting more in. Ramp it up.
So how does your approach differ between standard financial plans and more complex scenarios?
Again, the the chassis is the same. Everybody, it doesn't matter if someone who's has $100 million estate, they're still going to look at the basics, the cash flow, the budgeting, things like that. So everybody should be looking at those 5 ways to wealth, looking at, making smart money decisions, minimizing taxes, estate planning, insurance risk management, charitable. It's the steps after that for the folks that maybe have more complex, a larger estate, or maybe they own multiple properties, or they own a business with a lot of moving parts. The more moving parts, the more problems and issues they're going to pop up. A lot of times they're not even aware of the things that are going on, but there's also more opportunities. So the more complex plans, it's just kind of like you do the base chassis on a car. There's still 4 tires. Everybody has 4 tires on their financial plan. It's just you start to build up and get a little more complex, a little more sophisticated, and for those needs. Yeah.
Well, I know you've shared a lot of information and tips and things that you need to be putting into your plan, but is there anything else in terms of for every single person? Because I know everything is different. No two plans are the same, but is there something that's just universally beneficial in terms of finance that you could share as a tip?
Yeah, I think I'll go back to the investing part. Everybody, especially in the last couple of years, everybody is hearing about these meme stocks, they call them, cryptocurrency, everything else. And I'm seeing more and more people are really have that mindset of hitting the home run with their money.
Mm-hmm.
All heard the stories of, someone invested $1,000 and it's now worth $4 million. Just get that out of your mind as much as you can. Do not rely on that. Play with some money, that's fine. Don't make that your base plan. I tell everybody, home runs are great. Using the baseball analogy, home runs are sexy. They're really exciting. But just hit singles, doubles, and play good defense, and that wins championships. So it's the same thing with investing and planning. Just do the basics really, really well, and you're going to win the game. You're going to win the game. So,
what about like estate planning and how that kind of goes into all of the financial planning as well? Do you recommend people create estate plans, or when is it not really needed? What would you just say, just to touch on that?
Yeah, good question. So estate planning is simply, making sure that the assets that you have are going to go to your loved ones. And I think everybody thinks in terms of, I have to do a trust and I have to do a will and all this other thing. And it gets overwhelming and they don't want to sit down and even begin the planning process. Estate planning also applies to the 20-year-old kid who has a checking account. The checking account, maybe the small savings, just simply making sure there's a beneficiary. That's kind of the very basics of estate planning. So just a transfer on death, a beneficiary on the bank accounts, or if there's an investment account, a 401k, whatever it is. So everybody needs that. But as you start to build out and have more of a complex or sophisticated estate, then you're going to need to start building in the living trusts, the will, power of attorney for finance, and healthcare directives. And those things are going to take care of not only your beneficiaries, they're going to take care of you while you're alive as well. So you want to have continuity of control. And those 4 documents I just mentioned, living trust, will, power of attorney for finance, and a healthcare directive for medical, those things are going to allow you're going to name people to be able to step in and take care of you if you can. Just going through COVID, or struck by lightning, whatever it is, you may be in a hospital. It's not that you have to pass away. Hate to talk about it, but it's not about passing away. It's about not being able to control your plans or your daily functions. If you're in a coma, someone needs to step in and handle things for you, and that's what those documents will do for you while you're alive.
Well, this has been very informative. I know we're getting close to the end of the interview, so I want to ask if you have an offer that you'd be able to share with our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So the financial planning, again, I talked about how it's cost barrier can be there. So we're right now reducing things down to $250 level. And that is looking at starting off with the investment, making smart money decisions. So the biggest thing that we focus on for clients is, again, risk, fees, and taxes. It's not about trying to pick the best mutual fund or the best stocks. It's just about knowing where you are, making sure that you're comfortable. Do you have the right risk level for you personally? Can you sleep well at night? Because I'll tell you, a lot of the folks that we've spoken to that come in initially like, oh, I'm more aggressive. I want to get the highest returns. They're the ones that call first when the market starts getting hit. So you want to make sure that your investments align with what your risk tolerance, your personal risk tolerance, your sleep well at night number. You want to be able to identify that. You want to be able to identify what your total risk number on your portfolio is. How much risk is there? I've had people say, well, I think I have a conservative dividend paying portfolio and things are good. Those are the same stocks that have dropped 30, 40, 50% in the past, and that's not conservative. So we want to make sure that things are in alignment. And then kind of figuring out, well, how much of a return do you need to have to be successful? And if you need a 4% return to be able to make it into and through retirement, but you're investing trying to achieve a 15% return, there's a lot of room for error there and problems. So we want to make sure those three areas line up, and so we take folks through a process using different technology and software programs that will try to pinpoint those different numbers. What's your comfort level? What's the current risk level on your portfolio? And what kind of returns do you need? So right now we're at least starting off with that, and it's a $250 cost to go through that program and make sure that you're getting it right. Because again, you don't want to be blindsided down the road and realize, like right now with the market down, portfolio's down 25, and I thought I had a conservative, build. So $250, but in addition to that, we're saying don't send a check to us. We want you to pick a charity and send that $250 to your favorite charity. There's a lot of trouble out there in this world right now. A lot of people are hurting, and this is a way that we can help make a difference.
Nice. I like that. So if they want to connect with you, how do they reach out?
My telephone number, 562-346-3390. Most people are not going to just pick up the phone. So you can go to lathamwealth.com, LATHAM, wealth, WEALTH.com. Or you can email chris.latham@lpl.com, chris.latham@lpl.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Chris, for being a guest on my show and sharing your expertise on this topic. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Candy. Appreciate it.
Sure. And I want to thank the listeners for tuning in as well. I hope you found this topic interesting, answered some of your questions regarding financial planning for the everyday retiree. And if you have any additional questions or comments, be sure to reach out to Chris at the links that he shared, or send us a message at media@abandp.com. And would you please share our show information with those you know? I'd greatly appreciate your support. I hope you can join us for our next episode, The Benefit of Morning Routines. And please remember, you can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And my website is abandp.com. You can also find the podcast posted on multiple favorite podcast platforms, including iTunes, Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Until next time, have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next Tuesday. Have a terrific week.